GTM Podcast Porisat The Cannibal EP19. Hello everyone, we hope you enjoy listening to GTM Podcast Porisat The Cannibal and learning Buddhist wisdom along as well. Since this story is about the Buddha's past life, the characters' names and culture may be unfamiliar, but the story and its lessons are well worth your time. In case you have not listened to the previous episode yet, we suggest you go back and listen to them before you begin this episode, so you won't miss anything and enjoy the story as it goes along. If you are enjoying this program, like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. So let us continue with our episode 19. In the last episode, the final wish of King Suttasoma was for Porisat to stop eating human flesh. Hearing this request, Porisat clapped his hands loudly and said, "My friend, I left my parents, my throne, and all the pleasures of the palace to live in the forest because of my love for this kind of food. How can I stop eating human flesh? Ask for a different wish." The king replied, "Porisat, my friend, people like you always think this is what you love, which is far from virtue. Don't you believe that the taste of the truth is the best? The one who has been doing noble things is the one who would attain the truth. Understand that the one who does not do noble things will suffer in the future because of these behaviors." Porisat listened intently, knowing His Majesty would not change his mind. He became distraught and could not hold back his tears. He was overcome with fear and hopelessness, understanding that if he stops eating human flesh, he will die. With respect, he pleaded, "Your Majesty knows eating human flesh is my most favorite thing, that is necessary for me, and I cannot stop eating it. Please ask for another wish." King Suttasoma said, "A wise man never speaks two ways. They have only one true word. Porisat, you told me you would grant me every wish, and said when one gives a wish and later change their mind, they should not have given that wish to begin with. Do you remember saying this? Please let me trust in you and your words. You said you would give me your life. Do you remember?" "Yes, I remember," Porisat admitted. King Suttasoma said, "Porisat, be brave and continue to keep your words. The wise men will sacrifice their lives, but they will not stray from the Dhamma. They will only speak the truth. You have given me that wish, so please fulfill it." Porisat listened closely and realized what His Majesty was saying. King Suttasoma was my teacher and always honored me as his friend. He thought, "This is true. Everyone must die. If I must lose my life to keep the truth and pay gratitude to the teacher, it is suitable." Then Porisat paid homage at the feet of King Suttasoma and said with tears in his eyes, "I cannot live without human flesh. I went to live in the forest for this reason, but if you insist, I shall honor your wish. Will your Majesty accept it?" King Suttasoma accepted the wish with joy and gave the 5 precepts to Porisat, asking him to maintain them forever. Earth angel witnessed the exchange between the king Suttasoma and Porisat. They admired the king for stopping the cannibal from eating human flesh and gaining his promise to keep the 5 precepts. Their praise for King Suttasoma resonated throughout the forest. They echo from the great purgatories to the lower heaven, ascending higher and higher until reaching the Brahma world. Even the tree sprites who have dwellings on top of the trees heard the stories and the praise and continue to proclaim the good news in all directions. The 101 kings who were caught by Porisat and tied to the trees also heard the praise. Even though they could not see the angels, they had gratitude and chant Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu to King Suttasoma. After Porisat granted the wishes and received the 5 precepts from King Suttasoma, he stood alone, not knowing what to do next. His Majesty said, "My friend, it is now time to release the kings." Porisat thought, "I am the mortal enemy of those kings. When I release them, they will punish me until I die. I will ask King Suttasoma to be my refuge, so I will be protected." He said, "Your Majesty, you are my teacher and my friend. I follow your words, and you also follow mine. Let us go and release the kings together." King Suttasoma thought, "These kings have their pride. After they are free, they may wish to beat Porisat to death. However, Porisat will not harm them again, because he will not break the 5 precepts. I will talk to the kings and ask them to promise that upon release, they will not harm Porisat." King Suttasoma and Porisat journeyed to where the kings were tied to the trees and comfort them. The king exclaimed, "Everyone, please do not be afraid. All of you are safe from Porisat, but you must promise that after you are released, you will not be angry or harm him." All the kings answered, "We promise we will not hurt him, even though he caused us great suffering. We will keep our words. Trust us." King Suttasoma continued, "As parents help and wish their children to prosper, Porisat will help and wish all of you to prosper. All of you should treat Porisat as your father." Hearing that, the kings agreed. Then King Suttasoma asked Porisat to slash the ropes binding the king's hands. After the ropes were cut, the kings could not support themselves due to exhaustion and the lack of food and water. His Majesty embraced them and gently laid them down on the ground, removed the ropes from their wrists, and cleansed their wounds. King Suttasoma then asked Porisat to find a special type of tree bark. When he returned, the king rubbed the bark with a stone, mixed it with water, and used the dressing to cover their cuts. In the meantime, Porisat boiled fruit to make juice and poured it down the throat of each king for nourishment. In 3 days, all the kings were strong, healthy, and their wounds were completely healed. King Suttasoma said, "Now that all of you have completely recovered, go back to your cities. You are safe." The kings approved and decided they should travel together. Hearing this, Porisat knelt at the feet of His Majesty, crying with a trembling voice said, "Your Majesty, the virtuous one, will you escort these kings back to their cities? I will stay here in the forest and eat roots and fruits. What will King Suttasoma say? Will he leave Porisat in the forest to eat roots and fruits, or require him to escort the kings back to their cities? We will find out in the next episode of Porisat The Cannibal.